welcome to the channel. Today we'll be talking about testing in an agile sprint. When we are discussing testing, you know, we don't want to remain quiet. We want to make noise as much as you can. Testing is pivotal to the success. And when we have discussed stories getting done, they only get done once you have had a successful test. And testing can be in various forms uh, to make a story reach its done state. So, no, don't be quiet. Make as much sound and noise as much as you can. You are critical to the success. All right, so let's proceed ahead and try and understand the different types of testing. First of all, the most basic form of testing is, functional tests that a developer can do. And they are the closest to the code or whatever else that they're working on, and definitely will have some unit test cases of their own to go through and validate their changes. Second is the peer. So usually when we are talking agile development, we will have a peer developer who works very closely with the primary, and this person is engaging and challenging and advising and working closely to validate whatever changes are being made in this story. So peer testing is very critical. And again, the second closest person to a story is the peer. QA is natural extension of testing. Uh, in the waterfall model, it used to be development, and then it used to go into QA, and then it used to go to, different deployment stages. But you're in Agile, the QA person is engaged closely with the developer right from the time when the story is being conceptualized and discussed, in sprint planning, right all the way through development, and they working collaboratively. So the QA person has their own test cases that they have created, as part of planning, and then once the developer checks in the code, the person, the QA, can go and actually run their test cases against that and to validate if the story is indeed meeting the requirements. The next is integrated testing. This sometimes can be part of an agile sprint. It can be outside of an agile sprint. My own personal experience has been that it's best handled as a separate task outside of the story, just because integrated testing sometimes can be a long running effort. It could take days or weeks. Different vendors might be involved, different external applications could be involved, and you can't hold up your story for that integrated testing to happen. But then sometimes it can happen quickly, and depending on case by case basis, you could decide to have integrated testing as part of your subtask and make it a requirement for the story, or you could keep it separate. So, but that's usually something to consider. The next is an extension of the integrated testing, is where you would have some sort of a load testing. Again, it depends on how mature your systems are, development cycles. If you can get this into a load environment and run through a load test quickly, efficiently in a sprint cycle, I would encourage you to keep it in your agile sprint. Again, if you are having a longer performance or load testing cycle, then it should be separate and outside of your agile story. But again, this can go back and forth depending on, maturity models in each company. User acceptability, uh, this, in my opinion, should definitely be part of your story, right? So the product owner, business owner, they should be doing their own testing, providing inputs, or at least reviewing what the QA has done, right? And they should be uh, part of that cycle. Post-production validation, not exactly part of your story. It's not a subtask, but it's part of the testing effort definitely for a story. Once it goes through its production cycle, there should be a post-production validation effort. And if there's any issues, then of course a new story is created at that point, and it again goes into the agile flow. So yeah, it's a form of testing that should exist, but not as part of your done definition for a user story. It's post-production validation, so it implies it's after the fact. So how do we get all these different tests done? First and foremost, of course, basic thing is identify the resources and get the assignments out. Then, depending on the roles, if they're a developer, they're a PA peer, there's a QA, there's load test, you need to define the different test cases that would meet the requirements for these stories. The next is you can get testing also done through automated test suites. So people have nightly jobs that are running regressions against nightly builds. So in a CI/CD model, you would have these automated tests set up, and it just runs against that, and you get some testing done in that form. And like I mentioned too, with the CI/CD model, so there should be a nightly deployment happen of these. There's a build generated, and it's deployed every night, or it could be top of branch also. Again, it depends on different models of each organization on how they operate. Promotions to higher environments, I was talking about integrated environments, load test environments, so depending again on how you all are staging your data, these promotions should be happening regularly, and testing can happen in those environments. Very important, getting the results reviewed and approved. So by the right stakeholders, right? So if there's a product owner, we need that approval, you need the QA approval, different stakeholders in the story, they should be signing off. Sometimes you're going to open bugs and defects, right? You're going to find issues, and those get routed back to the developer. The story is not done till all of those are closed out, and you might go through the different cycles mentioned here again to address those bugs or defects. And finally, once all the testing is done and you're happy, you get to mark the story as done. And with that, I will thank you for joining today, and I'll be working on a story on defining done in detail. We've had some discussions before in my previous videos about done in Agile, but this one is going to be dedicated to that, and I look forward to you joining me for that next video as well. Thank you again for joining today, and see you in the next video.